everybody, Caleb here in the Rosa String Workshop. Today I've got this Gibson J45. You can see it's very well played. It's got a lot of wear on it. It's got, some of the usual things, especially with these adjustable bridges. One of the main things I'm going to do here is get this bridge replaced. It's also got a loose brace on the back, I know, and while I'm looking inside, getting that one fixed, I'm going to make sure there's nothing else loose. But right now it's actually set up pretty good. It's really low. I think personally there's a little bit of tone to be desired, and I think part of that is that adjustable bridge. So I think once we get a bridge with a saddle that fits a little bit better, and the antler saddle in there, I think it's going to be a lot better. So I'm going to go ahead and set this down. We'll get the strings off of here, and I think the first thing I'm going to do is look on the inside and see what's loose. So I'm feeling around on the inside of this, on the back, and this brace is really loose. This one is loose on this end. Maybe a little ways in. This one is broken. And the top one feels pretty good. And it just seems like it's all on this side, so I think I can feel over to the other side, and I don't have any problems there. And as I was looking over this, I was looking in the sound hole, and I thought something in that doesn't seem centered. And as I'm looking at it, I think I can see it there. The back reinforcement is not centered to the sound hole or to the fretboard. And so as I'm looking at this, I don't know how well you can see it, but the back seam is not centered at all. It's actually pretty far off. It takes me a second to find it, but it's about here at the tip of my finger. I don't know if you can see it at all on camera. And I'm sure when they built it, it was nearly impossible to see, and it's only because the finish is sunk in on that seam that I can find it. So I'm sure they never thought that anybody'd go looking that close. But that back seam is really off center. So I'm just gonna go probably get some glue underneath those braces and then just wedge them against the top, and that's how I'll glue those back down. There's not really a good way for me to show that, so I'm just telling you that's how I'm gonna do it. So I've got one brace on the inside wedged. I think I'm gonna do it one at a time. I think it, if I try to do them all at once, they just fight me, be in the way, and it'd just be harder to do. So anyways, I'm gonna do them one at a time. Since I've got that done, I've started working on getting some of the hardware off of this bridge. You can see I've got the two pearl dots pulled out, and I've started to unscrew the screws. I have to reach in and get the nut off the inside. Drop the washer, but it's okay. There's one. This one's a little more full of junk, so it's easier to just unscrew the nut on the inside. Alright, so now there should be nothing stopping us from taking that bridge off the top, and I think that might be what I start working on next. I've started heating the bridge. You can see here I've got some tape on the top. I hope that's alright. This old finish, I don't think it's going to be a problem, but you're never really 100% sure. It should be fine though. And I've got the bridge heater removal tool sitting on top here, and it's about up to 420 degrees. I've started working the knife underneath. You could see you could probably see I was heating up the knife there too to help break this glue. And I don't want to pry on the top, pry on or against the top, because I really don't want to dent it. So I'm just trying to work the tool in. I'm not doing any up or down prying. I'm just working the tool in to break that glue loose and then pulling it back out. Set that back on there, get it a little bit more warm. There we go. That came off. It came off pretty clean. Actually, I don't know that I could have done any better with that. I'll give this all a minute to cool down, and then I'll come back and we'll take a look at this a little more thoroughly. You can see here, I've got all the hardware out of here. I went ahead and just skipped over that since I've shown it so many times. But I did go ahead and make some little plugs I'm going to put in here. The little ones are maple and the big ones are spruce, just like what's already there. The bridge plate is maple and the top is spruce. So I'm ready to glue those in there. I just cut these out on the laser cutter because it makes nice, perfect little circles. Makes it easy to match the hole. So while those plugs are drying, I'm going to go ahead and start working on getting a replacement for this bridge. I've got this piece of rosewood cut down and it's getting close. It's still a little thick. The thickest part on the old bridge is 285 thousandths or so, and I'm at about 340. So I'm going to try to get this down to about the same thickness as the bridge, and then I'll work on the shape. So here we go. You can see I got 285, 285, 286. That's pretty close. I don't think I could ask for any better than that. So now I'll go get this set up so we can work on the shape of this. You can see here I've got the old bridge just taped to this new piece. I'm going to use the old bridge as the template. I'm going to cut off a majority of this and then we'll go over to the sander and get it a little bit closer, but I'm going to start here on the bandsaw. Well, it's easier to drill the holes and get them lined up in the same spot when I just have the old bridge taped on here. This is the smallest drill bit, well, the largest drill bit that will fit in the hole in the top, so they should, index pretty well into that hole. So I'm going to go ahead and, drill these holes out. That way the string spacing will be the same. Well, they turned out pretty good. you know, probably as good as I could ask for. I've just got a little bit more shaping to do to get this nice and refined. I am going to leave this one just a hair bigger than the old one, just to cover up any scar from taking the old one off. So it's a lot easier to route the saddle slot in the bridge when the bridge is not attached to the guitar. So I've got it placed on here. The holes are lined up with the holes in the guitar, so I know that it's in the right spot, and then I've taped it down so that it doesn't move. I've got a new set of strings I'm going to put on the outside strings, and we can start to get the saddle intonated properly on the bridge. So I'll go ahead and get these strings on here, and then we can start taking a look at where the saddle intonates at. In case you were curious, these are GHS phosphor bronze lights. So I've just about got this up to pitch now. Just doing that tiny little bit. So then I'll check the 12. So the high E's looking spot on, but the low E's just a little sharp. And if it's sharp, that means the string is short, so I need to move the saddle backwards. So I'll just move that bass side back just a little bit. I'll recheck the tuning. That looks spot on. So I'll go get the real thin mechanical pencil and mark the front edge of that saddle. We can route the saddle slot from there. Now somebody asked about this pencil last time I did this, and this is a Graph Gear 1000. I guess it's by Pentel. It's made in Japan, and this is the 0.5. Jerry says he's pretty sure he got these off Amazon, but this is the one I'm going to use, and I'm going to mark the front edge of this saddle. Alright, that should be good. Just double, triple checking. I want to make sure I get a good mark on there. So now what I can do is I can actually take the saddle and the bridge back out, and I can get it all put in our little saddle routing jig and get a real clean line on there. So that's what I'll do. I'll get that all ready, and I'll bring you back when I'm ready to route. I am just about ready to start to cut this slot. You can see I'm all set up here. I've got the bridge with some blue tape taped to it, and then that's super glued to the blue tape on the kind of table here. And I think we're all set up to cut this. I've got it set depth-wise to just cut a pretty shallow cut just to make sure it's looking good. So I believe we're ready to go. Looks really good. So I'll lower the depth a little bit more and we'll cut it again. Well, I think that turned out about as good as it could have. Get it off of here, if I can. Maybe. So you can see that slot turned out just perfect. You can just barely see that pencil line on the front of the slot. It's pretty good thickness, and I think it's a really good depth. It's, let's see here. about 95 wide, and I know it's about 2/3 of the depth of the bridge, so I left plenty of stuff on the bottom, plenty of bulk on the bottom to make sure it's strong, but should have a nice deep slot to fit in real well. So I guess the next thing for me to do here is start working on getting the body ready for me to glue this on. I am ready to glue this bridge on here now. I gave this mating side of this bridge a good wipe down with the acetone, and it pulled off some, splotchiness, so it's a good thing I did that and get some of that oil out of there and give the bridge a better chance to stick. I've got a little bit of a procedure going on here to get this all lined up. I've got a caul already on the inside. It's just kind of taped on the inside. What I'm going to do once I get glue on here is I've got a couple of drill bits I'm going to index these holes with because I want them to line up perfectly. So if I just index the outside ones, it goes right where it should be. So then I can clamp it down from there. I hope that's going to work well. I imagine it will. So we're going to go ahead and get some glue on here. This is sat up for several hours now. I clamped this up first thing this morning, and it's now about 1 in the afternoon, so I think I'm good to start taking this off of here. You can see I added that one more piece at the back after I had gotten everything else on. That was to help make sure the back was pressed well. Very good. I'll knock that caul out of the inside now. There you can see what caul I had on the inside, and that was pressed up against where the bridge plate would be. While I was waiting for that to set, I went ahead and did a real light fret job on this. I made sure the neck was level. I then went and leveled the frets, recrowned the frets, polished them all up, and then you can probably tell I oiled the board. It's looking really good. I think the next thing I'm actually going to do is try and oil this bridge. I think if we get a little bit of oil on there, it's going to start to match the color. So I'm going to go ahead and go grab some of the Be Good oil, and we'll put some on this bridge and see if we can't get it a little closer to this darker color. So this is the Be Good oil we've been using quite a bit. I just put a dot on my fingers. It's food safe, so you don't have to be too worried about getting it on you. That's looking much better. Now I'll wipe the excess off. That bridge fits right in there. You'd never know that it didn't belong. Alright, so the next thing I gotta do is make a saddle for this. So I'm gonna recheck my measurements on width and depth and that sort of thing, and I will get started on a saddle. So I thought I'd show you a little bit of making this saddle. I've got this piece of antler here. I'm going to try to take just a little bit of a shave off of this side, and we'll try to use that. I started off by making a flat on this antler. I just took it to the belt sander, set it down, made that flat, then used the disc sander to make one edge flat as well, so I had a 90 degree. Then I actually came over to the bandsaw here, cut a long edge, used the thickness sander to make everything nice and smooth so that this edge and this edge are square to each other, basically, so that I can get a nice flat cut real easy. So I have, you know, this edge is 90 degrees to this and 90 degrees to this. So everything should cut real easy through the bandsaw this way. So I've got a little piece here to push in and a little piece here to push through the blade. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this, and it should be a little thicker than I need so I can finish it up on the thickness sander. So we'll go ahead and cut her out. So now we're over at the thickness sander. I'm not real sure that this piece of antler is going to do it. You know, I'm cutting right off the edge, so hopefully I can get into the hard part of it. But there's still some soft parts that might be in a place I don't like. So I'm going to take it a little thinner and we'll see if I can use it. So I real quickly went and measured this for length. It looks like it's going to work. I already just kind of sawed off the edges, but I've got pencil marks I'm going to sand up to so I can get them pretty close. It'll probably still be a little too long, but that's okay. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put the brake angle on this for the strings. That's usually, you know, between 12 or 15 degrees. And to do that, we have to travel a real far distance. There we go. Really far distance. We'll move these real quick. And we keep this one set at that nice angle that we like to use. So I can just run this against here, and that should give me the right brake angle for the strings. So I use this little piece of yellow plastic as a bottom instead of just using the table, because when you put the angle on it, this gap gets a little bigger. So this way I can run this all the way up against the sander, and I have no risk of dropping this down in here, which has happened several times, and then you have to start over. So I think we're good here. I'll need to knock a little bit off the bottom of here, but I think we're still going to have plenty of height. We should be good to go. So I'll go ahead and just knock this off camera, and then we'll come back at the desk and start trying to test fit it. So I just did a tiny amount of sanding on the edges to round those corners off, and you can see it goes right in the slot. It fits really well. There's no play in any direction, and when you want it to come out, you can just pull, and it comes out. So, I'm really happy with that fit. You can see it's still a little tall, but that's okay. We can always take more off. It's hard to add it back on there. Now what I'm working on is putting a little bevel on the ends of these pins to help hold the ball end where it goes. You can see I'm just doing that with a file hold the pin, the side I want beveled down, and just knock a little bit off. That should be fine. Just put a little bevel on there. I'll move on to the next one. So I'll get this done, and then we can start looking at stringing this thing up. Well, unfortunately for you guys, I did most of the setup off camera. Mostly because Jerry was reviewing video while I was doing it, and I wasn't about to sit around and wait for him to stop, but I also wasn't going to interrupt him. So I took the saddle down to a good height. We're sitting at about 85 thousandths on both ends, so it's sitting pretty comfortably low. One of the things I wanted to talk about, because this got suggested last time I did this, was why didn't I just fill this slot with wood and then route a smaller slot for the new saddle? And there are a couple of reasons behind that. First and foremost, that's not what I was asked to do. I was asked to replace the bridge on this, so that's what I did. Secondly, this is hard to do. Not that it's hard to make a piece that fits right in there, but that there's wood grain through here. There's small grains and there's patterns in the wood, and you need to match those to make it look good. You need to make a piece that fits really snugly, so the seam's not really obvious. It's not really the easiest thing to do, especially when this is glued to the top. It's hard to make it match, it's hard to make it look good. And if you were okay with seeing the seam, obviously that would be a perfectly fine fix to fill this with wood and then route a new slot. Beyond that, I don't really like leaving the hardware left inside the guitar top. I especially don't like leaving those screws in there. If you have a Gibson of about this vintage and you've got cracks in the top, I can almost guarantee that they're in line with those screws. What happens is these bridges start to come unglued in the back from the string tension, and those screws pull up on the top and you end up with cracks right down the top, right where those screws poking through the top are. If I had just filled this and rerouted that, those would still have been in there, and I have no guarantee as to how well the bridge is glued down. Now I know it's glued down well. There's no finish underneath of it. I'm, very happy with the way this turned out. Some other things I did was this pickguard was coming up on this corner, and it still kind of is. And I put a piece of double stick tape under there, just under that one corner. Hopefully that'll hold it down pretty good. So I guess we're just about done with this thing. I did get all those 3 braces on the back re-glued. This is sitting a pretty good action height. I'm going to do one more good look over, make sure I've got everything done on this, and then we'll play this and it should be good to go. But you can see we got this thing playing really good. I'm really happy with it. It's set up really low and it's got that new bridge. I think that new bridge really gives it a lot more of that bass that I think it was lacking before. That more contact with the saddle and a little more meat there on the bridge just helps transfer, I think, a little bit better. It gets a little more bassier. Opens it up a little bit more, I guess. Right now I've got it tuned open D for no particular reason, but that's what it is. I'm going to go ahead and tune this thing back to standard, and then I'll set this aside for Jerry to look at, make sure everything's good here. I hope you enjoyed this little bit of work on this Gibson. You know, the usual bridge replacement and that sort of thing. If you did, a thumbs up would be much appreciated, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video and you wanted to see a little more of what I'm doing when I'm not on the clock, you can head over to my channel. It's Caleb Mills. There should be a link in the description, and there's a few side projects you might enjoy watching there. Once again, thanks for watching.